Season 2 of Marvel Rivals just dropped, and the meta? It's wild. New balance changes, buffs, nerfs, and one hero that's low-key broken right now. Whether you're climbing the ranks or just want to stop being casuals, I've got you covered. So let's break down the Season 2 meta, who's dominating, who fell off, and what you should be playing. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. At 20,000 subscribers, we're doing a special giveaway. As we finally became a Marvel Rivals partner, we got some awesome content planned for the future. But without further ado, I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, the first topic I want to talk about is what shook up the meta. First, we have Moon Knight, who got a rework, making him much more consistent in team fights. Following that, we got some new hero buffs for characters like Mr. Fantastic and the Human Torch, making them a lot more prominent in this season. And yes, some ultimate costs were adjusted, which affects team fight pacing a lot. Also, map rotations are favoring more vertical and open maps this season, which means mobility and range are king right now. Now, to make it easier, this video is going to be split into a couple different sections. The first section, I'm going to be talking about the meta Vanguards, followed up by the meta Duelists or damage dealers. Then lastly, we have the meta Strategist. Now, after these three sections, I'm going to be talking about the quote-unquote meta team composition. Now, I'm doing it this way so you can kind of make your own team compositions with the building blocks of the meta, and I'm getting these quote-unquote meta team composition from top 500 matches and Marvel Rivals Fight Nights, where it's a whole bunch of pro teams fight it out, just so you don't think I'm making up random team comps. But anyways, let's start talking about our meta Vanguards. The first quote-unquote meta Vanguard is still Magneto. He is still currently one of, if not the best Vanguard in all of Marvel Rivals for a couple of reasons. The first one being his versatility. He still has the ability to absorb a ton of damage, both with his shield and just his body. He can bubble teammates to save them, he can bubble himself, but typically you want to bubble your teammates. He can do a ton of damage if played properly, and his ultimate Meteor M, although it was slightly changed, meaning it takes a little bit longer to get now, it is still extremely viable and super crucial to a lot of the team compositions, mainly due to the fact that it's both an offensive and defensive ultimate at the same time. Offensively, you're using it to take out enemy strategists using their defensive ultimates, and if you're using it defensively, you're soaking up Punisher's ultimate or Star-Lord's ultimate, anything like that. He's still a super prominent figure in the current meta, and I don't think he would really get taken out unless some actual major change was done to him. Then yeah, he probably won't be in the meta anymore. But as of right now, for season 2, he's still a top dog. Then our next Vanguard for the current meta has to be Groot. Groot did not receive any changes for season 2, which is actually insane, and this character is insane. With a ton of survivability, a ton of damage, and an ultimate that can literally change the outcome of a fight in a second, this character is still insane. Chances are, if you're playing ranked and you're not banning Groot, then you're probably playing him. I don't really see a world where you're not playing this character if he's not banned, as he's just extremely strong. Even without certain combo characters like Moon Knight or Namor, he's still a very crucial aspect of the team composition as a whole. Again, team composition and team synergy is really where this character shines. Now, our third meta Vanguard is our new hero, Emma Frost. So Emma Frost plays like a highly adaptive tactical bruiser, a rare hybrid of range controller and a frontline disruptor, making her a very unique character when it comes to the current meta. She excels at creating pressure from a distance, baiting enemies into poor engagements, and then flipping the script by becoming an unstoppable force in the middle of the chaos. Now, she pairs extremely well with Magneto, not just because of the team-up ability, but how she interacts with him. When Emma Frost is using her ultimate ability, even though she's immune to crowd control effects, she's not invincible. If used poorly, she can risk her own self getting picked off. That's why having a Magneto to bubble you while you're using ultimate is extremely beneficial. And another reason why I believe Emma Frost is so strong in the current meta is that her ultimate pulls enemies towards you, and it also silences them from using their ultimate abilities. This makes it extremely beneficial for your own duelists to use their ultimates while you're using your Emma Frost ultimate. They won't be able to use any of the defensive ultimates to save themselves, allowing for your Winter Soldier, your Star-Lord, your Human Torch, and so on to completely dismantle the enemy team, allowing her to be in a very good spot for the Season 2 meta. Now, the next quote-unquote meta Vanguard is actually 2. It's both Hulk and Venom in my opinion, mainly due to the fact that Dive is super strong right now. Hulk receives some buffs in season 2 that makes him extremely strong. with his indestructible guard ability, which is a shield on a shorter cooldown, and the fact that they increase his movement speed and how much he can be jumping, all of these changes have made this character extremely strong and prominent. And his synergy or team up with Namor is also why he's probably picked a lot more now. Now, even without the changes to the team up ability, if it was just the changes to Hulk, he would still be getting picked no matter what. Now, you might also be wondering why I said Venom. Well, despite what some people think that he's only good for the team up, I think Venom is a very good tank. He dives in, he can do a lot of damage, he can stall for a rather long time, and can still do his one-shot combo with Rocket's ult. I also believe that Dive is super strong in Season 2, so having Venom on your team can be extremely beneficial to you. Now, I believe it wouldn't be fair if I didn't put a couple honorable mention, and that is for Dr. Strange and Captain America. Now, I feel that Dr. Strange is a little bit pushed out of the meta currently, as Dive is the main meta, and he recently got some nerfs, so he's not doing what he used to do. But I say that he's a honorable mention mainly due to the fact if you're the first one to get eliminated in a team fight, and the point is contested, it's about the cap, and you think you can go back, you always swap to Dr. Strange and portal in. It doesn't matter, whoever gets eliminated first should be swapping to Dr. Strange, which people still don't really understand that. I honestly don't care about your ultimate charge or anything like that. Swap to Strange and portal in. Even if you are 70% from a Duelist ultimate or a Strategist ultimate, swapping still lets you have 50% of Dr. Strange ult. Because again, Marvel Rivals is a numbers game. The more players you have alive, the better your odds are. Then the next honorable mention has to be Captain America. I only say he's an honorable mention. I think he's very good, but I feel like he serves a different purpose than a full-on dive team comp. He's mainly there just to be in the enemy's backline and kind of harass them, not necessarily get any eliminations, but to draw focus onto him. Opposed to an actual dive tank, you try to go in with your Duelist and get that elimination. I mean, Captain America is kind of just running around in the backline, minding his own business, absorbing damage, drawing attention. That's really it. And he also does a great job at stalling the point. But now let's talk about the quote-unquote meta Duelist currently. Now, for our first Duelist, it goes pretty much without saying that the Human Torch is literally the #1 pick right now. He got a considerable buff this season and can do a ton of damage. You see him a lot in your ranked games, you see him a lot in pro play, so it literally goes without saying that this character is meta. It kind of goes like this: if the enemy team bans Hela, then they're probably going to play a Human Torch. That's kind of their tell. Yeah, this character is meta for a couple of reasons. First is the sheer amount of damage this character can output is immense. His ultimate is pretty decent for getting enemies low. He can easily zone and control people out of positions, making it very easy for his team to walk up. And he also fits pretty well into a dive composition, as one of his abilities literally lets him dive in, gaining extra HP and doing more damage. Now, our second Duelist has to be Hela. This character wasn't really changed in Season 2. Now, the only nerf this character received was an increase on the cooldown of her flock form or her bird form, which is her escape. Again, it was nothing major. But overall, she kind of still sits in the same place. This character is extremely strong and extremely prevalent, and she's also an extremely good counter to the Human Torch, but usually Hela's going to be banned if they're playing the Human Torch. But moving on to our next Duelist, I hate to say this, but it has to be Iron Fist. This character is extremely strong currently in Season 2. He got some pretty major buffs and changes to the character, so he just feels a lot more better than what he used to. If played correctly, this character should never die, and as he's a character who can easily dive into the opponents, he's definitely a top pick. Now, moving right along, our next Duelist slash tank hybrid is Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic receives some insane buffs and reworks to his kit that makes him an essential pick. Acting kind of like an off tank, you can run it with 2 other Vanguards, so you have 3 Vanguards in the lineup, and again, is a definitely solid pick. And again, he's kind of like Iron Fist. If played correctly, he should never die. Our next Duelist is Psylocke. Now, Psylocke didn't receive any changes for Season 2, but with her team up with Emma Frost, Psylocke becomes much more intimidating and can dish out a ton of damages played correctly. Now, I say Psylocke because of the team up with Emma Frost. Well, yes, this is true, and I say it because a lot of the time you're gonna have an Emma Frost on your team, so Psylocke is always gonna be a great pick. For our honorable mentions for Duelists, we have a couple. The first one is Wolverine. I think Wolverine is still a very solid Duelist in the game, but he's a little bit more tricky to play now, mainly to the fact that you have Emma Frost and the Thing existing in the game, and it can be quite easy to shut a Wolverine down, but I still think he's a very solid choice. Then, of course, we have Namor. He's great at anti-dive and can definitely put in the work if played properly. Then lastly, we have Star-Lord. I think Star-Lord's still a fantastic pick. I think the res comp is still super strong where it is. Even though Adam Warlock was slightly tweaked, overall the res comp doesn't really change, so Star-Lord is still a great pick. Now moving on to our strategist section, our first strategist in this meta has to be Luna Snow. She received no changes for season 2 and is still super dominant. Whether you want to believe it or not, this character is still super strong, so you better pick her. Now our second meta strategist is Rocket Raccoon. This character got an insane rework to where his ultimate is both offensive and defensive. His healing is also bugged currently, so he does an insane amount of healing and he's a very good pickup. He also has the ability to bring back one teammate every 45 seconds as long as they're in a 50-meter radius, so it's a pretty strong ability. We quite literally went from everybody hating Rocket to everybody loving Rocket. It's kind of funny. Now our third strategist is Loki. Now even though Loki did receive a little bit of a nerf with his regeneration domain cooldown where they increased it just a tad, he is still a super strong strategist. He does immense healing. His totems or lamps or whatever you want to call it are still super strong, and he still has one of the best ultimates in the entire game, which you can literally copy any ultimate, so it's up to you how you want to use it. Now those three strategists are typically the most picked in pro play and in the higher ranks. Now let's just give a few honorable mentions. For honorable mentions, we still have Mantis, Adam Warlock, and another main healer, as the res comp is still a very good team comp to run. There's nothing wrong with running the res comp. Now the only thing that got changed was that Adam Warlock got a 10-second cooldown increase for his soul bond ability, so instead of 30 seconds it's now 40, and I felt that soul bond was kind of like a mini ultimate in a way for a strategist, and I truly believe it was a very strong ability if used properly and correctly, and your team should never be dying to a dive because of that. But because it was so strong, it did receive a nerf of a 10-second increase for cooldown, so 30 to 40 seconds now. It's not the end of the world, still a great ability, still a great team up, but a little less picked now. With that, Mantis is also still a decent pick. Her life orbs now stack on top of one another so that the duration of her healing and damage boost lasts longer, but her health did get decreased to 250. Again, not super game-changing changes, but again, it still is a change. Now, Cloak and Dagger is an honorable mention as well, as she did get a buff. However, I would still want to have a Luna Snow, Invisible Woman, Rocket Raccoon before I had a Cloak and Dagger on my team, honestly. Even though Invisible Woman did get nerfed, I don't think it's the end of the world for that character. With the heroes out of the way, let's talk about the meta team compositions. Again, I'm coming together with these team compositions with both the meta heroes, what I'm seeing in pro matches and high ranks. I go through, find what's getting picked more, and from there, I try to make the best composition I can with all the information. Of course, this is all in my opinion. Things can be tweaked by other people, there's nothing wrong with that, but again, this is just what I'm seeing. For the first team composition, we're saying that there's no bans whatsoever. We're saying that every hero is open. Of course, these hero selections change depending on bans, but these are just your building blocks. So this first comp is your more traditional non-dive comp. For your first Vanguard slot, you're gonna be having an Emma Frost. Again, Emma Frost is super strong currently and is definitely a must pick if not banned. Then our second Vanguard is Groot, because Groot, again, is very strong just like Emma Frost. He can dish out a ton of damage and has an ult that can literally change a fight in a second. So for our first Duelist, we have none other than Psylocke. This character can easily burst down targets and again can mass a ton of damage. And she has to team up now with Emma Frost, making her a lot more viable as a pick. Then for our second Duelist, we're having Hela. Hela is a staple, still super strong, and still can 2-tap people from across the map, so there's no reason why you shouldn't pick her. Then for our strategist, we're having Luna Snow and Loki. Luna Snow because she's literally the best healer in the game, and then Loki because we have the totems, we can copy Luna's ultimate, and overall is this another strong strategist. Of course, you could change Loki out with Rocket, you could change Luna out with Cloak and Dagger or Invisible Woman. All of these characters you can mix and match, but for our standard 2-2-2 non-dive comp, that's kind of what you're going to be wanting to play. For our second team composition, it's going to be the res comp. Again, no changes were made to the team up or really any of the characters apart from Adam Warlock, but that change wasn't necessarily insane to the character. So overall, the res comp is still super strong. This is going to be your classic Adam Warlock Mantis, followed up by a main healer, whether it be Luna Snow, Invisible Woman, or Cloak and Dagger. Then of course you're having Star-Lord as your Duelist. Then you're going to be running for your Vanguards, Magneto, and Groot. Now the last team composition we're going to be talking about revolves around the Human Torch. It's kind of similar to our second team comp, which was Groot, Emma Frost, Luna Snow, Loki, and Psylocke. But our second duelist is going to be the Human Torch rather than Hela or Namor, mainly due to the fact that the Human Torch right now is an incredibly strong character. He really shines in his team comp, especially when he has to team up with Invisible Woman for that extra shield, which even though Invisible Woman is a little bit of a weaker strategist right now, it's definitely worth running her if you have a Human Torch on your team. And you can also trade these characters out with one another as certain heroes are banned. For example, if Groot is banned, you could run a Captain America, you can run a Magneto, maybe a Dr. Strange, or even the Thing if need be, and a Hulk. What I gave you is the building blocks of the team composition. From there, based on bans, you can mix and match however you want to. Now, with all that being said, I think it's also fair to talk a little bit about dive compositions. Dive compositions are strong in Marvel Rivals for a bunch of reasons, mostly tied to how fast-paced the game is and how its mechanics reward aggression and disruption. One of the first reasons being that backline pressure is extremely valuable. Supports and strategists provide massive value from the backline. This is true, while dive comps target them first, forcing cooldowns, ultimates, or retreat, which severely disrupts team coordination. Another reason why dive comps are so strong in Marvel Rivals right now is that when you're playing against dive, positioning, awareness, and tight team play are your best defenses. But in solo queue or low coordination games, we all know the real story. You're gonna end up getting rolled by a dive comp if you don't talk to one another on your team. That's just kinda how it goes. For the last section of this video, I want to talk about the highest win rate characters currently. Currently, Rocket Raccoon sits at a 54.4% win rate, which is pretty insane. Storm sits at a 54.07% win rate, which is also very good for Storm. Miss Fantastic, after the recent buffs, sits at a 53.98% win rate. Hulk sits at a 53.45% win rate as well, with Magic at a 53.19%. Then we have Iron Man and Captain America both at a 53% win rate, Penny Parker at 52%, Mantis at 51%, and Thor at 51%. All of these win rates are pretty solid for these top characters, and I'm honestly surprised Mantis is up there, maybe because not that many people play Mantis compared to some of the other heroes, but still very solid numbers. But anyways, hopefully this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form, or maybe it was a little bit informative. But nevertheless, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It greatly helps out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.